Hello everyone and welcome to this Hangout on Air session. Today we're going to talk about data-driven creative, and basically we're going to go through how we can personalize ads in real time with the DV360 creative module. Before starting off, let me introduce ourselves. So I'm here with Sid.
Hi folks, I'm Sid. I work as a GMP tech manager for the UKI market and I'm based in Ireland.
And I am Alix, working as a GMP tech manager for the French market, and I am also based in Dublin. So before starting this session, let me just remind you that you can sign up to our GMP newsletter, and by doing so, you're going to be able to receive all the latest updates on our products, about the industry, inventory opportunities, and all the key informations about this Hangout on Air session. So to do so, you just need to register on our website, and you'll have the link below the video after this session. So what are we gonna cover today? First of all, we're gonna talk about why we should care about creatives. Then we're gonna go through the creative module in DV360. We'll talk about data-driven creative, mainly in DV360, and yeah.
And we're going to follow that off with a short walkthrough studio, which is the GMP creative management tool. And we're then going to go into a decision tree where we can help you advise clients on which dynamic creative solution to go for. We'll also be walking through a couple of case studies on data-driven creatives in DV360.
Yes, so let's start.
Cool. So before we go into data-driven creatives in DV360, we thought we'd talk a little bit about why we should care about creatives. So during a recent study done by Nielsen, what we saw was that in terms of sales lift, and this is a study performed in 2017, they attributed 47% of the campaign's performance to the creative itself. So while other elements such as targeting, reach, the actual brand value, recency, things such as auto bidding, for example, are extremely important, so is creative. Another internal study done by Google, which was done back in 2016 through our Media Labs team, shows that 70% of any campaign's performance, and this isn't necessarily sales, this is talking about any KPI, could be clicks, could be views, and so on. 70% of the campaign's performance can be down to the creative. At the end of the day, it's as simple as the creative is what the user sees. That is the final step in the process, and this is why it's extremely important to focus on what we're showing our users.
So creative in DV360. So our creative product team has been focusing quite a lot on the creative module in the last months, and we'll still focus a lot on this creative module. And for the ones who have been using the platform for a while, you probably remember that the creative UI was completely different, and it has been revamped, and we've added a lot of new features. So before jumping to data-driven creative in DV360, we're just gonna have a quick overview of the all the features that you have access to. So mainly you have the creative workspace that you've probably all seen, and the creative user role. So these two are really the idea is really to encourage all the different partners and people to get involved in the creative strategy to use DV360. Then you have access to a lot of new and very innovative creative formats. We definitely encourage our clients and you to use more and more data in the creative strategy to get a better result, to improve the performance. And finally, in order to analyze all this, we offer enhanced reporting to report on all these creative formats. So the creative workspace. So the creative workspace is the foundation of the creative model in DV360, and it allows for a very simplified workflow across advertisers, agencies, and creative designer. So it has really been built and thought to drive collaboration between different people, between different teams, such as the data team, media, brand, and creative teams. So what you can do now is that you can invite the creative agencies directly working in the platform, and to do so, we have created a creative user role. So of course, this creative user role have a limited access on certain specific elements, but at the same time, it gives a very good overview and key informations on media plan that can really help to improve the creative strategy. So what you can do and what you cannot do. So you can upload, you can create, edit, delete all the creatives. You can use the format gallery if you have this creative user role. You're going to be able to run standard reports. But what you cannot do is that you won't be able to see any cost-related data. You won't be able to see this in the campaign setup and in the reports. Now, let's talk a little bit about the format gallery. So the format gallery has been really improved and has been basically built thanks to a lot of customer feedbacks asking for a more visual and intuitive user interface. So the idea is that here you can browse and you can create a lot of formats, and it doesn't require specific creative development skills. The good thing is that you can also have a very good feel and a good view on how it will look like at the end and how the end user will experience your ad. So let's quickly see how it looks like in the platform. So I'm here at the advertiser level in the creative section format gallery. And here on the main page, you have all the different formats. Okay? Then depending on the one you want to do, you have video, display, native, and app install, and you can just select the one you want. You have the create option and the details. In the details, you're gonna have all the specs and where it can run, etc. All these kind of informations. All right. Yeah. So we did the demo. Now we're gonna talk a bit more about data-driven creative in DV360.
Yeah. So data-driven creatives are extremely important in the way you engage with your clients. The basic principle being you're showing them a customized or a tailored version of a message that is meant specifically for them. So while we have a lot of ways of building data-driven creatives, and you can incorporate signals such as audience signals, such as geography signals, you can schedule your creatives to run at a certain time, and so on, we wanted to see what happens when you just incorporate a very basic signal like geography. So we did a study back in 2018 where we had a look at geography signals as the only one in a data-driven creative campaign. And we could see 46% lower CPA with data-driven creatives customized to users per region.
But however, thanks to another internal Google research, we have shown that 97% of ads lack a personalized creative for each customer segment. So what does it mean? It means that basically 97% of the ads that we see are not built for us as a customer. So this is really the reason why we talk about data-driven creative in DV360 and why we offered this. But first of all, what is data-driven creative? This is a way to personalize ads based on audience and contextual signals in real time and at scale. And this is a strategy that can be better enabled by using upper and mid-funnel dynamic ads. And for more complex cases, you can always use Studio that we're going to go through with Sid later on. But first of all, let's focus a little bit on the DV360 part. So this is a very simplified and very intuitive user face. And as we're going to see later, you have direct access to first-party audience lists, but also Google audience, such as affinity and in-market audiences. There's also other targeting options that we're going to see. And as we mentioned before, the main idea is that here you can collaborate between different teams. And for example, while the creative team is working on building the creative, the media or production team will be able to work on building the customer segments. And how does it work in DV360? So you're going to have two different options. You have the pre-built format option and you have the custom format option. The pre-built format option, so we offer 3 different templates, and basically in a few clicks, it's going to be done. So we're going to show you later the 3 formats, the 3 templates. And if you want to do something more specific, you can use the custom version. and you're gonna build your personalized formats from scratch by using Google Web Designer, and then you just have to upload it in DV360. Just a reminder, Google Web Designer is our free authoring creative tool. Here you can see our 3 different pre-built dynamic creatives. So first of all, we have Panorama. Panorama is a horizontal carousel format, so you just need to swipe through if you want to know a little bit more about the product or the service. Then we have QCard, which is vertical carousel formats. And finally, we have Blank Slate. So Blank Slate is a very simple image with a title, a description, a background image, and a call to action button. So talking about new launches, so we've recently launched the category targeting. So just as a reminder, we have different signals that you're going to have access to in the dynamic rules section. We have audience list, categories, location, schedule, and line item. So categories, this is a contextual signal, and it's based on market verticals and content of web pages. So you can now select this in the dynamic rules. We've also launched the responsive data-driven creatives. So maybe some of you knows what it is, but for the ones who wouldn't know, the concept here is that basically you need only one single creative that will restyle its elements to suit any different sizes, like many different sizes of ad inventory. So you don't need to have a lot of different creatives with different sizes. You can have one that will just restyle depending on the ad slot. Okay. So now we're gonna go through a little demo. Here we have selected a fictional company that is called Corner, and we are not showing any data from any advertiser, so it's really a fictional example. So they have decided here to use data-driven creative in DV360, and they're gonna use the blank slate format. So we have recorded our screen to show you, to better show you how the dynamic rules section work. Okay. Let's start. So here we are on the Ad Canvas section. That is our visual creation tool that allows creative team to build dynamic ads. So as you can see, we have already created our variants after duplicating the default version. On the top right of the screen, you have the list view that shows all our variants in an editable spreadsheet, allowing us to create and edit a large number of variants in an efficient way. So back to the gallery view, and we'll select the default version. As you can see, we've already included all the text and information requested. So now, let's move to the dynamic rules section in order to define the right strategies. So here you can see the different signals available. You have audience, categories, location, schedule, and line item. So categories has been added very recently, as I just mentioned, and is based on contextual signals. So you can select any category that you want, for example, fashion or whatever. And now let's get back to our strategy. So here Corner has decided to work on an audience strategy. And as I mentioned at the beginning, you have the first party audience list, but you also have affinity and in-market Google audience. For the ones who wouldn't know, maybe you probably know, but for the ones who wouldn't know, affinity is an audience that has shown an interest in a specific product or service, and an in-market audience is a segment of users who are actively looking to buy a product or a service in the near future. So in our case, they have selected in-market audience on pool and spas, and also people that would be ready to buy holiday items. So this is the one that we are selecting right now. Done. Okay. And now let's select our location, because our stores are based in Ireland. So we're just gonna write Ireland. So now that we have our strategies, we can assign the right creative to the right content. So for the second one, we're gonna do the same. And finally, for the last one, we're just gonna assign the default creative for everyone else. So this is what we call the dynamic fit. If we wanted to, we could still add and edit our strategy with schedule, for example, that you can see here. And we also have a line item that is grayed out here. So finally, you can update the creative in the basic detail section here. And you can save it as a draft, which is an option that we offer.
So just as a note as to why line item was grayed out, because we've already populated a few signals in, line item as an option was grayed out over there. However, let's say you wanted to use a signal outside of what is available in the options over there, you can go ahead and use line items to set up your in-depth strategies and then assign specific creative variants to those line items. So let's talk a little bit about Studio. Now, Studio, in a very basic way, is a tool that we have that helps us build rich media creatives and build dynamic creatives for more enterprise level clients. So if you are using Studio, the idea is that you are an advanced client of creatives. More often than not, you have creative partners that can help you engage with Studio and build amazing creative formats. Studio links with Campaign Manager. So all Studio creatives will go through Campaign Manager and then can be used in DV360 if you want to buy ads over there, or they can be used as tags in direct publisher purchases as well. So what does Studio help you do? So Studio enables advertisers to host an asset library. So you can host a library for all different teams working on your creatives to upload assets into one place. You can develop dynamic creatives, so you can add feeds which can define your targeting templates into one space as well. And lastly, you can QA your creatives at scale through the quality control mechanism built in Studio as well. So speaking of which GMP creative tool to use, the focus of today's session was DDC in DV360. But as we know, Studio also is a DDC tool that can help more enterprise level use cases of dynamic creatives. So let's talk about which option you should be choosing. So at a fundamental level, if you are getting started with your dynamic creative journey or your data-driven creative journey, DV360 is a good place to get started, simply because it is already templated, so it's very easy to build. It can be modified in different ways using Google Web Designer as well, if you wanted to use other elements than what is available in these templates. And you have certain targeting options available, such as affinity and in-market audiences, which are using Google's machine learning formulas as well. And you can use your floodlight audience lists as well. Let's say you are a more advanced user of dynamic creatives. Studio offers a different option for you. Just as a caveat though, because it is a technical product and because it does require a certain expertise, creative partners are available to help you in building Studio creatives as well. So Studio would usually come to play when you have a lot of creative variants, when you have thousands of creative variants, when you have a lot of data signals, when you are building feeds with thousands of rows as well. So these are use cases where you want to scale your dynamic creatives beyond what DV360 is currently offering. So in that case, Studio is the right way to go. So looking at this in the form of a decision tree, let's start with what you should be recommending your clients. So if your client is just getting started on their data-driven creative journey and they have basic requirements such as geo signals or scheduling signals, or even just their first-party floodlight audience data, they can use DV360 to build their data-driven creatives. Within that as well, let's say that they understand the product vision and they understand that certain elements of this aren't reportable through Campaign Manager. DV360 is the right way to go for them, because this is very simple to build. It's easy to measure through DV360 reporting. As Alex had mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, we have been building variant level reporting in DV360 as well. So it's a very useful feature for clients just getting started on dynamic creatives. Let's say that you have a discussion with your client and they realize that they want certain features that might not necessarily be available in DV360. You should approach this in a hybrid manner. So do pitch DV360 because it's easy to get started. But then Studio might need to come into the fold should your client ask for certain use cases around targeting or around feeds or around scaling their approach. Let's look at the other side of the spectrum, which is a client who has already done a dynamic creative setup using either a third-party tool or they've used Studio in the past. They have some resources available to help them develop these dynamic creatives. In that case, Studio might be the better option for them. But even within this, let's say your client does want these advanced features, but they don't necessarily have a creative partner. Stick with a hybrid strategy. And this strategy would be start with DV360, and then let's build whatever we can't achieve through DV360 into Studio. Lastly are the clients who have a lot of technical consultations coming from different third parties. They are looking for enterprise level solutions, and they have some resources available to help them develop this. Studio would be the better option for them. So let's deep dive a little bit into some case studies. In terms of case studies, we have chosen two clients, one from Italy and one from India. So I'll hand over to Alex to walk through the first one.
So here we're going to talk about Natuzzi, which is a global retailer, Italian global retailer. And so they have stores all around the world. So they had different objectives here, but the main one were that they wanted to increase the brand awareness, and they also wanted to drive traffic to the website. But by doing so, they really wanted to focus on engaging with users in a very personalized way. So they have decided to use DDC in DV360, and they have chosen the queue card format. So just to remind you, it's the vertical carousel format. Here they have used mainly the location signal. So the result, in terms of result, they have exceeded the performance goals that they had, and they managed to bring new unique visitors to the website at a lower cost. But more concretely, what they've managed to do is to reduce by 50% the cost per unique visitors, and they have managed to improve by 2x the CDR compared to standard display campaigns.
So going on to the next case study, so L'Oreal are a big brand in India, and they have Garnier, which is very popular in India as well. So they were launching a new set of products, and they wanted to engage with women in the demographic of 25 to 44 years old. So what they wanted to do was they wanted to increase brand recall for Garnier and their new product, which is the Color Naturals, and drive higher engagement, which was going to be measured through CTR, which was going to be measured through the number of unique users they're going to reach, and so on. The way they approached this was that they identified 37 core audience segments based on the relevant interests that they had. So these were a combination, let's say, of affinity audiences, in-market audiences, and their own first-party signals. They then used Google Web Designer and DV360 to build multiple creative variants which were tailored to these 37 audience segments. And what this led to was that they were able to reach 21 million new unique users. They were able to get the engagement they wanted through an uplift of 22% in their click-through rates. They got a 42% lift in their ad recall, and they were able to save 87% of time on developing the actual creatives by using DV360 and Google Web Designer. So you can read more about these case studies on our GMP website. With that, we come to the end of our presentation, and we will now have a quick look at the questions. So the first question is a very interesting one. Why should we care about creatives? So I guess, like, as we covered at the beginning of our slides, creatives are what the user sees at the end. So it is very, very much important, let's say, in a campaign. There are multiple studies that have been conducted both by Google and by external partners over the past few years that are highlighting the importance of creative. The 70% stat is especially very, very big, and it was a surprise to me as well. I'm not sure about you, Alex. Where 70% of any campaign's performance is down to the creative, and this is measured across a variety of different KPIs. So creative definitely is important, is what we should be saying. Although the creatives are automatically cut off so that they can fit each format, sometimes this is an important part of the image. What would you recommend over here? So as has been mentioned, there are two ways in which we can build creatives in DV360. One is by using the actual template format within the UI, which is what I'm assuming you're referring to over here. And the other way is to go via Google Web Designer. So in this case, what I would recommend is trying to use Google Web Designer to design a creative with the specification that you have, and then seeing if that works out. If not, we have our support teams who should be able to advise you on certain changes. Is there any training for operators of DDC for creative perceptions? So we have a lot of trainings available on the Academy for Ads, is what I would recommend. And we are going to be launching more and more materials over the coming months and years on creative. It is an integral part of GMP, and we will continue supporting that. If you would like more information, though, you can reach out to your account management team. Please run us through a few examples of smart use cases for dynamic creatives. So we talked about a couple today, and you can find more examples on the Think with Google website or on the main GMP website, where we have a list of case studies. Cool. When will first-party signals be available? Do you want to take this one?
So we already have access to first-party audience list, as we mentioned earlier. So this is something that we have already access to. Then it is all the first-party audience lists that are recognized by DV360. So of course, we're gonna work. Our product team will work more on having more and more signals in the platform, in the DDC option.
So if this question was a reference to GA360 audiences or CRM data or DMP audiences and things like that, like Alex said, we are looking to incorporate all first-party signals into our formats, but some of these are work in progress, so it will come with time. When will CSV or Excel downloads or uploads be available with audience signals and creative changes? So this is something that is being looked at by our product teams as well at the moment. If some of you were at the GMP event last week in Dublin, we talked a little bit about certain functionalities that are going to be introduced later this year and early next year around bulk uploads. In terms of CSV or Excel files specifically, this is something that is being looked at, so more to come on that specific front. What is the best practice for using audience signal combinations? For example, geo plus audiences for brands, etc. And do you have any shareable examples?
I can take this one. So I think I would say that there's no best practice. It really depends on the campaign. So for this, you can always contact your GMP tech manager or like your account management team. So you have all the signals that we have mentioned previously in terms of example. You have the ones that we have presented earlier, and you have more on Think with Google. But yeah, I would say it really depends on the campaign. So you have to work on this depending on the campaign's KPIs.
Yeah, I mean, defining your audience segments like what L'Oreal did in India would be an interesting approach. So as a brand, they wanted to increase ad recall. So they identified a mixture of different audience types and built creatives customized to the same. So do have a discussion with your account managers, because it could be start with the audience strategy and then go down to the creative, or the other way around as well. But yeah, that's about it. That is the end of the questions here. I see. If you do have more questions, please feel free to raise them with your account management team, and Alex and I will be happy to take them.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.